these are the new books.
Yeah. You want to hit that door?
Sure thing, more.
That's good.
But you can't speak over. You're a tourist, aren't you?
No, he's not a tourist.
All of a sudden, you're not tourist now. Yesterday you were a tourist.
Not for me.
He was a tourist.
Huh?
Not for me.
Rick was a tourist.
No. Oh, you're Leo, right?
Yeah.
No, you're tourist.
I'm tourist. Rick was Leo.
Oh shoot! Yeah.
You're tourist too, right?
I'm tourist. Yeah.
Yeah, so you guys have big mouth, right? So you got no problem. Is this all online? They're like, who's that guy calling today? Sorry, Moors out there.
Yes, I have a big mouth. That's why I keep it
Personal,
shut.
not personal. No fighting.
No fisticuffs.
Hey, Cujo. R-E-S-P. What the hell is this all? I was like, this guy's weird, okay?
Islam to all the wars. Peace.
Islam.
Let's start up and give our honors. We just have a little ritual that we do before every class.
Should I introduce myself too?
Well,
Yeah,
not
shit.
Yeah.
Well, this
Yeah,
is
go
Carl.
ahead.
My name is Carl.
All right, bro. Pleasure to meet you.
Like I said, I follow you guys on the web.
Okay, for
YouTube.
real. All right.
So you know what's
Decided
up. Okay. All
All
right.
right.
now.
Proper.
Be live.
All right. Good job, yo. Good job.
So yeah.
So let's
So
face the east. Do our prayer. 5 on the left, 2 on the right.
It's okay, you can whichever.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, Father of the universe,
Father of love.
Father of love,
Truth.
truth,
Peace.
peace,
Freedom.
freedom,
And justice.
and justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector,
My guide.
my guide,
And my salvation.
and my salvation.
By night.
By night
And by day.
and by day.
His holy prophet.
His holy prophet,
Noble Juali.
Noble Ali.
Islam.
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 You're you want to turn off Bluetooth because your thing.
Oh, it's
Yeah, it was.
That's
Who
me,
knows what you might be
that's
listening
me
to?
making you go off right now?
Something like that. Just turn it off.
Yeah. We'll start up with our readings to be read every meeting. A warning from the Prophet. Class number 21.
I won't be staying. You guys want me to go at the back, or you want to? I think that's it.
Peace, Morris. Readings to be read every meeting. January 1929. I hereby inform all members that they must put an end to all radical and agitating speeches while on their jobs, homes, or on the public streets. We advocate peace and not destruction. Stop trying out your cards with the Europeans, for it causes confusion. There has been much confusion caused by members trying out their cards. The cards are for your salvation. Failure of obeying my orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members that seek to hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet, or to violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet, and if they lose confidence in their prophet, give up your card and button, cease wearing your turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. For this is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Juali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet is sending out a divine plea to all true Moorish Americans that they may do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Noble Juali. To be proclaimed every meeting, March 18th, 1929. Islam. I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now, by the same people on our side of the nation that claim it was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme they can to disqualify me so they themselves may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works which I have performed in the last few years. This is long. One of the things that we needed to talk about today was the news coming out with the Supreme Court giving this Aboriginal status to Metis people and non-status Indians and all that. There's been a few, unconscious Moors and conscious Moors that have, continue to miss the point as to why we take the position that we take of not classifying ourselves under the jurisdiction of quote-unquote Canada, right? There's dirty Moors out there who push that we are no different than some of these sovereign citizen whatever's that's out there, telling us that we're Canadian citizens and we don't know about law and all that. So we want to put some things on the record with regard to this ruling that came out, I think Wednesday or Thursday last week. This was the article. Actually, this was the article that Brother Setan Rabe sent me. So you know that on top of more studying or whatever, you know that this Aboriginal Indigenous issue is not just something contained to here, right? Because Setan Rando's Moors are in Philadelphia. So for them to hear about it and then send it to us to see if we heard about it means that it's something that, is out there, right? Canada Supreme Court gives Métis people Indian Aboriginal status. The ruling allowed Métis people, those of mixed Aboriginal and European descent, to negotiate with the federal government for new rights and benefits. Canada's Supreme Court has ruled that more than 600,000 Aboriginal people previously denied special legal status by the federal government should receive it, granting potential access to new rights and benefits. The court declared that Métis people, those of mixed Aboriginal and European descent, and Aboriginals not registered with the government are quote-unquote Indians under the Constitution Act of 1867, placing them in the federal jurisdiction with respect to rights and benefits. Now to just check.
More
Federal
sorcery.
government's right there. Huh?
I said more sorcery.
Yeah. They got their magic going on.
Yeah.
Piece more. They got their magic going on. So this is why, we stress that when we hear Moors talk and say certain things that are contrary to what we've been teaching or telling people, recognize that either they have some personal vendetta against us out here, or they work for the other side, and their plan is to make sure that people out here don't take us serious, right? Just like what Drew Ali said, that they're jealous of the fame and nobility, right? Because many people have, bent over backwards, did all types of stuff that they can try to do in order to have a temple where they're at. And it doesn't manifest to them because it's not supposed to manifest for them, right? The court declared, now keep in mind that we're talking about the Supreme Court of Canada. So if Canada's a corporation, then what does that mean about that court? That
Kangaroo court.
it's a kangaroo court as well, right? So, you know, people get caught up in this thing of, oh, the Supreme Court, because, you know, Constitution says Supreme Court and all that stuff, and Supreme means, you know, but the reality is that, you know, federal means, but Federal Express is never, ever, ever called an office of the government. Right? Never, ever. People don't even assume that it's part of the government, but it's called federal. Right? Those of mixed Aboriginal European descent and Aboriginals not registered with the government, which is speaking about us, Moors, because we're not registered with the government. We don't have any tie that, you know, the Canadian government said the Moors are, the Canadian government gave the Moors tax exempt cards so that we can be tax exempt. The Canadian government did something for us to, you know, they gave us some land over there, you know what I mean, for us to be on a reserve. We don't have any tie to them, right? And there's many others that are in that same position that, you know, they know that this is not really a jurisdiction that is legitimate, because they know that Canada's been around before 1867.
Exactly.
Right? Majority of people that claim Aboriginal Indigenous status knows that in treaties prior to 1867, Canada's mentioned, and the people of Canada are known as inhabitants. They're not called citizens, they're not called Aboriginal, they're not called Indigenous, they're called inhabitants. Right?
Sounds like they're referring to the actual landmass in that context.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, it's not a, there's a line from 1867 that changes the whole scope of what Canada is, what quote unquote Canada is, right? And like we tell people, like we told those brothers yesterday with the Unity Summit with the Hebrews, that, you know, there's a reason why they call themselves Hebrew Israelites, because really they're Jews. But if they say we're Jews, then everybody's going to be tying them to those Europeans that have that name. So it's the same thing with us saying Canaanland opposed to saying Canada. Even though we know that the jurisdiction of Canada is pre-1867 as far as that name. But just like, you know, it's like feeding fuel to the fire. We say Canada, then all these Moors are going to be, oh, Canada's a corporation. See, we told you guys those guys are corporate or whatever like that, when we're not even trying to go there, right? We're drawing a line that we have no connection to this corporate colonial inquisitionist force that's cheating land all over the place. So the court declared that Métis people, those of mixed Aboriginal and European descent, and Aboriginals not registered with the government are Indians. So the court ruled that these people who are not registered and these people that are of Aboriginal and European descent are Indians now. Whereas prior to that, they weren't even bringing up these other people. They had nothing to do with anything. They were just, you know, some people over there. But now that they're classified as quote-unquote Indians, now they come from India. Right? Which means that they're not Aboriginal and Indigenous people. They're corporate wards of the Crown. Because only Indians are people from India. There's no Aboriginal Indigenous people that are called Indians.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Well, from what I discovered is the Europeans went around trying to discover the world.
Right.
In looking for India, they're trying to get all the spices and herbs from India. They have no compass. They don't know the stars, so they start setting off on the ocean, right? Every place that they land, they call it India. West India, West Indies, India. They look at dark-skinned people, they go, you're an Indian. Man's look at himself, I'm not an Indian.
Yeah.
What the?
Yeah.
So they labeled everything with a big brush, India.
Right.
And those people are Indians.
Right. Now, to add on to that, keep in mind that the whole reason they started going in boats and trying to colonize everywhere else is because of the fall of the Moors in 1492. The Moors and the Jews. And when you do your research on the Spanish Inquisition and Christopher Columbus' connection to Aragon, Castile, and all these colonial powers, in the history they tell you that the crew for his ships came from the Spanish dungeons. Right? So there weren't any Europeans on their ships, because majority of the people that were European, they had the concept that the world's flat. So if we go in this boat and we go to that line over there, we're falling over the edge, so we're not going in the water, right? If they see octopus, whale, shark, whatever like that, those are sea monsters, we're not going in the water, right? This was European perspective back then, right? So the only way that they're gonna get anywhere is to have Moorish navigators on those ships. So when you know, so we can't really say they didn't know where they were going. They might not have knew because they weren't in charge of the ships, but the navigators knew exactly where they were going, because the navigators been navigating since the inception of boats, which is really our culture. So and then this also ties into the Barbary Wars and the fact that the Europeans, being new to this idea of being in a boat and sailing and stuff like that, half the time, 3/4 of the time, they got quote unquote hijacked by pirates, Barbary pirates, because they realized that the so-called pirates realized that these people were outside of their jurisdiction being in the water, because really the water was our jurisdiction, right? That's why when we it's not more. That's why when we that's why when we look up to dock a boat, it's called mooring, because the Moors were the first ones that were doing that process of bring a boat, put it on the bank, put the thing in, tie the rope around, and now, right? So right and exact what you were saying, right? So these people now that had no tie to this corporate jurisdiction are now being pulled into the jurisdiction by the so-called, the quote-unquote federal government. And you have federal government there?
Federal government. The system of government administered in a state formed by the union or confederation of several independent or quasi-independent states. Also the composite state so formed. In strict usage, there is a distinction between a confederation and a federal government. The former term denotes a league or permanent alliance between several states, each of which is fully sovereign and independent, and each of which retains its full dignity, organizations, and sovereignty, though yielding to the central authority, a controlling power for a few limited purposes.
Read that the part that you just read again,
Yeah.
from after the definition.
Okay, so in strict usage, there is a distinction between a confederation and a federal government.
There's a distinction between a confederation and a federal government. Now, Canada, that's not a federal government.
It's a confederation.
That's a confederation. But this so-called confederation is claiming authority in land that they don't have jurisdiction in. because they claim that they take their oath to Queen Elizabeth and all that stuff, which is not over here. So their confederation really lies across the seas. Their confederation isn't from this side. Their confederation was over there, brought over here, right? But the federal government was already here. This is why when the Europeans came over here and they decided to start up their own government, they didn't go to Europe to set everything up. They went to the Aboriginal indigenous people who were already here and used their template in order to create their government. Because there was already government here. Thousands of years there was government here. Right? So them taking this position of, you know, claiming jurisdictions is the same thing like what Kevin Annett was bringing up with the residential schools, and you know, them saying that they have the authority. They're gonna put residential schools for quote unquote Indians to go to so they can learn about, you know, whatever that they claim that they're teaching them, when it was really about getting them to be under the jurisdiction so that they can have them where they are right now, being classified as Indians, which puts them under the jurisdiction of quote-unquote Canada, which is a private European foreign colonial inquisitionist corporation that's only intention is to keep the people blind, deaf, and dumb so that they can steal their land from under them. And when we say, when you know, they have this thing right now going on with these native girls or whatever, having pacts that they're going to commit mass suicide and stuff like that on their reserves, right? But and then the government stepping in and saying, well, yeah, you know, we are going to, you know, administer help to these people, right, by stopping them from committing suicide. Well, the reason they're committing suicide is because of the conditions that they've been in for the past how many hundreds of years, because of these people that claim to be the government.
Exactly.
Right? So there's when you look at the Moore versus Police with Brother Fonteas beating down on these people trying to steal his son or whatever. And he told them that you guys are losing power all over the planet. That's where they're at right now. And if they're going to say that they're trying to classify everybody as Indians that are claiming to be Aboriginal and Indigenous and not registered with the government, know that that's a direct attack on Morons. Has nothing to do with those people who were not, quote unquote, registered. Has nothing to do with them. It has to do with the fact that we got these people on the run right now. We're the ones. It's not the non-registered Indians or whatever like that are talking about their corporation and all that stuff. It's not the non-registered Indians that are sending them writs and challenging jurisdiction and all these tribunals that they have around here. Those people are content on their little reserve or whatever that they live on. They're not trying to get out of the situation that they got themselves into. But the reason why they're not is because they're contracted parties to hide the fact that the real indigenous people are the Negro, black, colored people that have been so classified. The real natives are the people who are copper colored. The real natives are the ones that are lining up to go buy Jordans and stuff like that, thinking that that's, you know, they're supporting whatever, right? The ruling allows Métis and unregistered Aboriginals or non-status Indians to negotiate with the federal government for some of the same rights and benefits granted Aboriginal people living on reserves.
That's crazy right there. You don't negotiate for rights. That's number
Right?
one.
You don't negotiate for rights,
It's
right?
ridiculous.
And if you've been to a reserve, you're not going to negotiate to be on one of those.
It's ridiculous.
Nobody in their right mind is gonna give up their freedom that they have out here to go to the store and do whatever, to leave this to go live on a reserve where there's nothing there, right? These include hunting and fishing privileges. Now, right, they said that, they talk about right. They said that they can negotiate with the federal government for some of the same rights as Aboriginal people, but the rights include hunting and fishing privileges, which privileges aren't rights. Privileges is contracted permission. And if you're getting permission, clearly you're not the authority. Tax breaks and assistance for medication, housing, and education. And once again, if we go to these reserves and we ask the people on the reserves, what type of assistance, medication, housing, and education have you gotten on a reserve? They'll tell you zero.
We'll give you blankets.
Right? Yeah.
With smallpox.
With smallpox. Right? We give you PZ blankets with smallpox. Right?
Oh, jeez.
The case began in 1999. What year is it right now? These are the rights that these people have. That since 1999 they're in court about these matters, and these people are just ruling about this right now. With the Congress of Aboriginal Peoples and 1 Métis and 2 non-status Indians as plaintiffs. Right, so do your research on the Congress of Aboriginal Peoples, see who created that. Right? Who this 1 Métis individual is, and the 2 non-status Indians. Now, how is it that the court declared that Métis and mixed Aboriginals of European descent and Aboriginals are not registered with the government, so based on this ruling they're now Indians, but in 1999 these 2 non-status quote-unquote plaintiffs are called Indians? Islam, fam. Right? In 1999, before this ruling, they're saying in this article that the Congress of Aboriginal People, 1 Métis, and 2 non-status Indians are the plaintiffs. But the ruling that just came out in 2016 is saying that the non-status Aboriginals or the not registered Aboriginals are now going to be called Indians. Right? A lower court had initially ruled in the plaintiff's favor. A lower court had initially ruled in the plaintiff's favor. But the then conservative government raised the case to Federal Court of Appeal, which upheld the previous ruling on Métis not being unregistered Aboriginals. Joe Magnet, lawyer for the plaintiffs, right? Joe Magnet, and then a magnet they use to blow stuff, right? Joe Magnet, the lawyer for the plaintiffs, said outside the court that the lack of quote-unquote Indian status meant a lack of access to benefits and services some Aboriginals badly needed. The lack of Indian status meant lack of access to benefits, right? Which means that without the Indian status, you have rights. And if you have rights, you should be doing what it is that you're supposed to do with your rights. You're not supposed to be going to corporate, federal, whatever, begging them to give you some handout. Because we already know that the hand that gives controls. That's why we don't play go get grants from these people. Because they're not the people that should be issuing any grants. They're a private corporation. As soon as you take something from them, now they got you. Just like one of the Moors has set up a corporation, right? He set up the corporation, and the corporation is supposed to be so that he doesn't have to be a corporation, right? But the corporation that he set up has to pay pension. Why is the corporation paying pension? How come the corporate entity? How come McDonald's is paying pension into CPP? Makes no sense. But they know that a person is a corporation.
They're playing both sides of the fence.
Right.
And then they're putting themselves in as the recipient
Of
of that person's, because that person is theirs. It belongs to them.
right.
So whoever
it's
they
not
is
really
receiving
that the CPP is to cover the
living
person,
person,
which is the
living.
corporation. The CPP that corporation is paying is actually going to the government as their little payout or their retirement package or whatever. Or whatever. Wherever it's going, we don't know. But we know that they're siphoning off now and then. You know, we were talking with the more and we're saying, okay, well, damn, if they're doing that for one, what about all these millions of corporations out here? Are all those ones paying CPP? And where's all that fiat going that they're paying that? That they're going to say, oh, yeah, we're deficit, we don't have any finance to pay anything.
Are they
We need to tax you.
on behalf of the corporation or on behalf of employees or?
No, what happens is the person has to pay CPP for himself, but then the corporation also is supposed to pay, so there's two entities that are there. So what we're saying is one of those entities actually doesn't exist, except on paper.
So the part that the corporation is putting in, contributing to the CPP,
Right.
is not on behalf of the natural person. It's just
It-
more
but-
money
but-
going in.
You are right, but the natural person is the one who's paying it.
Right, exactly.
So basically, it's a form of indenture, right? Because I should be paying CPP as an example for myself,
Right.
but then why am I paying it for an entity just on paper?
Just on paper.
That's
Because
crazy.
so what happens when the corporation retires? Does
Crazy.
it, like, is the corporation sitting
Yeah,
on the
it's
beach?
the corporation, right?
Right?
Wow.
Corporation got his foot kicked up.
So what we were saying though is we're extrapolating that because that's the law for every corporation.
Ah, so they're making big money.
Big money, but that's the sign-in for, that's the sort of the buy-in for that you using their entity for, but when you realize that they're also using you as that entity
As that
too,
entity as well.
as the straw. So you see how malevolent and how absolutely diabolical this is, right? Because when you want to get into that game where you're saying, okay, I've got a corporation, I'm paying some people off, you're actually still paying a nice little buy-in fee every month,
Every month you're paying a buy-in fee.
as if that person is a real person. It's
Right.
the exact same amount for the person as the person.
Not a problem.
Absolutely.
No problem.
Look at this
That is
one.
so crazy, I tell you.
Look at this one.
Just accept, live with your
Yes,
privileges.
right. Don't ask questions, just go to work
Just
and
go
pay your
along with
taxes.
You know what I like?
Pay
When
your
you used to
taxes.
be about
Government
white-
will protect you.
I like when you used to be about white power. Now you're.
I'm still about it. I'm still about white power.
But now you're about privileges, right?
Gotta change up the times.
We will look forward to engaging the government as to how these discriminatory practices should be removed.
So wait, hold on a second, I'm sorry, I still can't get over this. Are they also paying EI?
EI, you have that option of paying EI.
Oh, you have an option?
You have the option, but that's where what happens
They'll tell
is,
you that though.
Yeah, they don't tell you that, but you have the option of paying EI, but a lot of the times what would happen is you're looking to access more of the funds because you are not a ward of them anymore. You are sort of your own entity, so that you would then be having write-offs and stuff like that. So they give you more access to the money, right, as a corporation, saying that you're competent. And within that competency, you have the choice to protect yourself under premiums if you want, that other entity. You don't have to pay EI premiums for the corporation.
For the corporation.
Which, interestingly enough, which you should have to too, right? The corporation might.
If it's getting
EI
pension,
employment
yeah,
too, right?
yeah.
Well, one of the other things that was interesting in doing the studying for that, there was a bank withdrawal that was made, and on the bank withdrawal, which was very interesting, which we hadn't talked
I
about,
think you should come up here. You gotta turn around.
oh, sorry, well, yeah, because I'm leaving, was that money was taken out of the account, and they called it a foreign deduction to a foreign entity. So and it was questioned, the bank was questioned as to why would it say on the withdrawal, a foreign transaction? Oh,
Don't worry, just go along with it.
That's what oh, don't worry, that's the code that we use for whatever.
Just go with
In
it.
the knowledge, what I realized is they're saying that the corporation is foreign.
Exactly.
Right,
So it really is a foreign entity.
right.
But they're making you sound like the foreigner.
Well, no, what I'm saying is they're admitting to the fact that they're letting you know that they're foreign.
Yeah, but you said that when the withdrawal was made, it was called a foreign withdrawal? Is that what you said?
It was called foreign transaction.
Yeah.
Right. So what they're letting you know is that corporation absolutely has nothing to do with the du jour nature of anything. That's as if a foreign entity.
Even though it's here.
Even though it's here, and even though you're paying CPP.
You're paying CPP,
and
which is Canada's pension
Pension
plan.
plan, right.
Yeah,
So if it's a foreign deduction, doesn't that make Canada foreign?
exactly.
Right, absolutely diabolical.
Yeah.
Which goes right in line with why the Governor General website would say that he's Canada's de facto head of state. Because they're foreign.
It says that
Keep
it's
them
that-
away
it's
from
de
the
facto.
human trafficking. The British away from the human
Right.
trafficking.
Write this
Yeah,
down.
It's
even at
scapegoats,
the
Canada.
inauguration with Stephen, what's his name?
Harper?
Not Stephen Harper, the new one,
Trudeau?
Trudeau.
Yeah.
He had to go sign his name in the book for the Governor General to allow him to accept him as the premier.
Right.
If the Governor General didn't allow that person that Canada voted into, which you don't really vote for the guy.
Right.
If he has the power to say no.
Because he's the general.
Because he's the general.
He's the highest court, he's the
Yeah.
highest decision maker in the land.
Right.
And he's
Right.
from England.
Yeah.
He's from England, but he's the highest court on this land.
Right.
So
Right.
he's foreign.
But I think what we all have to realize too is that what they've been doing is they've been playing around with so-called, what Cooper was talking about, which was government versus confederacy.
Yeah.
The so-called, so for example, the Congress and the House of Representatives are higher than the president, right?
Oh,
But in essence, we vote the president in as if he is the
He's the
figurehead.
one, yeah.
But he's really just the figurehead of the corporation.
Yeah.
He has nothing to do with he's more of a corporate officer.
He has,
He's not-
he has veto power, but
He
that's
has
why.
veto power to a certain extent,
That's why.
but we understand that when you read through those things, if, his veto power has to be done in certain ways, if
Yeah.
not, then
Yeah.
he's out, right? And it's the same with the prime minister. He's
Right.
really just
The first one.
He's
Prime
really
means first.
he's really just an agent of the queen,
Right.
right? Because really
Which has no power. She has no
Which
power.
has no-
but yet,
She has no power and
but yet,
In the broad
somehow-
scope, but
yeah, she comes into the back. She comes in the back door.
But
probably.
yet it's that institution and that operation that's running here. Because really, it should be a president, right? Prime
Right.
minister means that there's someone above,
yeah.
right? He's first, but first to what,
Yeah, first to what?
right?
Right.
First of what, right?
So quick question about the EI. So would it be okay to go for the finance, just reserving rights?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. That's the power of reservation of rights.
Yeah, cause
Because
I
they-
was kind of like iffy if I should do it because I don't
Well,
want
I
to
was,
get into
Yeah,
what was
'cause I
interesting
mean-
was that I was doing EI, this is about a year and a half ago, I was reserving all my rights, and initially they were sending, because it was coming from the Receiver General, or the warrant general, or the receiver general. Anyways, his name, once I started to get on the knowledge, I started to look at these forms. Started to realize that it was the receiver general. This is the man who's
Yeah.
looking after the money. He's the one who's giving you out money, but he's really creating more debt.
Receiver.
He's really creating more debt. So it was the receiver general who you think is paying you, but he's really paying himself while you're taking on the debt,
Right.
taking the notes, right?
Right.
Because so what's happened is, as I continued, and I think it had a lot to do with me, as I continued to put, because on every one of these EI checks, I was putting my rate, reserving my rate.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, within a year, they stopped sending any information except the check.
Yeah.
So you didn't even get that, you know how
The-
on the
the-
check you
yeah,
get the
yeah,
other
yeah,
part
the
that
other
would
part
say
to
what
peel off,
everything
yeah,
is?
yeah.
Now that ain't even coming.
Right.
It's just the check.
Yeah.
And and I'm sure if anyone's been dealing with the de facto, if you're not realizing, they're trying to get out of paper
Yeah.
altogether.
Right.
They're
Yeah,
making, now,
electronic-
I'm getting everything in
Electronic
paper.
everything, yeah.
I'm getting everything in
Yeah.
paper and paying extra money for it, $3 for every.
Yeah, you gotta
piece
pay
of paper.
extra, yeah,
I've
yeah.
gotta pay extra,
Yeah.
and the reason why that is so that there's no paper trail
Right.
at the end of the day, so that there's no actual, and that's where the spelling and the writs and all that
Yeah.
stuff come into it,
And
right?
then
If
that
they
comes
can have
into-
transactions all done electronically,
Yeah.
then there's no proof.
And that
Yeah.
comes right back again to activity that Moors have been doing that have them looking at things from that perspective.
Right. Yeah.
Let's go electronic everything, right? Because, you
Because
know,
what they know is that they say to you that you can go print it off your computer if you want it, but you know 99% of us are not gonna be
That ain't
printing that
happening,
stuff
yeah.
off.
That ain't
Right?
happening.
And you know that when they want to, with the flick of a
Right.
button, they can make sure that you get none of your receipts, right? So those are the games, and what they're saying is that they're pretty much forcing the issue, which I don't think they can, but they're telling me that basically the change is coming, where they're not gonna be offering
They're not even
paper,
gonna be
under
paper.
the auspices that they're trying to save trees.
Yeah.
While they're knocking trees down for everything else.
yeah, yeah, they got the machine that just eats the tree, just
Right. But what the deal is they're trying to cut their liability. That's what's happening, that's what this is all an indication of.
Yep.
The things are finally coming to a head now, right? Because we've now got, all of us, with all of those forms, we've all got written proof of their fraud.
was on thing in there.
Receiver, there's not receiver general by itself, but receiver.
Oh, so Law Dictionary has no term called receiver general.
Be a very lawful position.
So hold on, there's a receiver general of the Duchy of Lancaster.
There he is.
But like in between receiver and the Duchy, there's no receiver general by itself. So
Let's see what
Let's see what he's up to.
Let's see what his shop
Let's
is.
see what this Dutchy guy is up to.
Dutchy guy, passing Dutchies and stuff.
Receiver General of the Duchy of Lancaster, an officer of the Duchy Court who collects all the revenues, fines, forfeitures, and assessments within the Duchy. So he's the
Dutchy guy's alright, eh?
We might as well check see if
Wake
Dutchies
up
in
now,
there.
wake up.
Let's see if Dutchies in there. Because we gotta find out what this Dutchie is.
Exactly.
Cause I know they're not.
Something.
I know they're not selling weed.
Well, you don't know that.
Well, yeah,
Well,
it's
they
legalized.
are now, aren't they?
Now they legalized the Dutchie.
Okay,
Is it there?
Dutch lottery, Dutch auction, no Dutchy.
All right, no Dutchie. So there's something for the Morris. Go find what the Dutchie is.
They talk about duchies in them little places like Albania and
Reread
places
it.
like
Can you?
that.
Do you have it still there? Reread it one more
Duchy
time.
of-
The Duchy of Lancaster,
Yeah.
receiver, yeah. Receiver General of the Duchy of Lancaster, an officer of the Duchy Court who collects all the revenues, fines, forfeitures, and assessments within the Duchy.
That's perfect.
So either the duchy is a jurisdictional
jurisdiction
area
or a lot- yeah, some-
or a physical area, but
Yeah.
it sounds to
It's a
me
monarchical
almost-
jurisdiction. It's
Yeah,
where the
some
Duke
type-
rules. So the
yeah.
Duke is the head of the Duchy.
The Duchy.
And then it's under the King.
How do you spell duchy?
D-U-C-H-Y. That's my personal, you know, well, that's
Or, no. So what you're saying though is that,
The Bible's right. What do you say?
no, I'm just saying, so what you're saying is that's basically a jurisdictional place out of a title, the duchy, right? Or
Yeah, relative to the title of
Right,
Duke
relative-
and Duchess,
right.
right? So like even I think the Prince of England and whoever they have titles
all
before they
duchies. Yeah.
even while they're not.
Duke of York.
Yeah.
So what was it again? He receives all the money?
Forfeitures, fines, and assessments within the duchy.
That's what it says, forfeitures, fines?
Revenues, forfeitures, fines, and
Revenues.
assessments.
Revenues.
So it's the
Interest,
revenue,
yeah.
so that's exactly what it is. So
Yeah.
what he's doing is he's collecting out of my account
Right.
and having me sign off on it
Yeah.
and signing the waiver to take that money out.
Right. But if you reserve your rights, then they got problems.
Then they got problems.
Human
Because then they're
trafficking.
taking that as the bond that they're then going to
Right.
trade all over the place, and all of a sudden someone's saying someone's reserving their rights.
Yeah.
Right, that's right. And so as I said, now I get a piece of paper and it's blank. You used to have like the breakdown.
Yeah, the breakdown of
You know
how much
how
you
much
got
you got
and
this
then-
much, this
yeah,
much tax, whatever receiver
Yeah.
general in the corner. Now it's just five digits. That's it. I can bring it in, show you how it's changed over.
Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said after the ruling, the government respects the court's decision and looks forward to talks. Quote, Canadians who don't have the same chances as other Canadians do, that is something that has been going on far too long, he told reporters at an event in southern Ontario. Canada's Aboriginals, this is a key point that they're bringing up. Canada's Aboriginals have higher poverty levels and lower life expectancy than other Canadians and are more often victims of violent crime, addiction, and incarceration. Now, last time I checked, the highest poverty level, low life expectancy, violent crime, addiction, and incarceration is the Negro Black colored people. So they're putting it out there. If we go check the records, we can see that dark-skinned people, 99% of them are in prison.
But wait a minute, I'm wondering whether they're splitting their hairs by not even putting black people in there, and maybe what they are dealing with is their property again, which is the Canadian Aboriginal, or the Indian. Possibly,
so,
they're
yeah.
probably the next one up.
The next,
Right, so who, either way though, it's being told, right?
Trudeau's Liberal government announced additional funding in last month's federal budget for First Nations communities in a bid for renewed positive relations. According to federal data, the Canadian government spent $8.1 billion from 2014 to 2015 on Aboriginal funding.
Really?
8.1 billion. All right, Mark, please. 8.1 billion. There are roughly 700,000 status Indians and more than 400,000 Métis and 200,000 non-status Indians. One of the plaintiffs, Métis activist Harry Daniels, pretty, such an Aboriginal name, died before the case was heard. His son Gabriel Daniels, who later joined the suit, said his father would probably be doing the jig right now.
Big, eh?
Doing the jig. Right? Clearly they're not Aboriginal. Doing jigs. The jig is up.
When this thing was announced, they had it on they had it on City TV, and I happened to be watching it. I think Cujo's says that his sister confirmed or backed up, but the leader of the Métis was a European.
Yeah.
Which doesn't take away from the fact that the Métis are the amalgamation of the so-called Indian, that Indian here that they met, and them. But yet, it's very clear that this man is a European. So what they've really done is they have infiltrated, co-opted the seats, and then are sort of taking their de facto position as controllers of this set of people, right?
Right.
I also saw on City TV as well that they said that like 9 out of 10 or 11 trying to commit suicide or committing suicide, and they were showing pictures of how the place was all run down and stuff. So if they're getting all these monies,
Where's $1 billion
where's it
going?
going?
Yeah.
Well, not only that, you start to wonder what is going on with the suicide pact, whether this is some spiritual divinity thing going in where people are just jumping over the border, now, or whether this is, what the prophet talked about, releasing his spirits down onto the people, and maybe this is, who knows what. But what you're realizing is this game is still going on with this government, with the so-called government playing these games, talking about $8 billion that's been given to
$8 billion.
$8 billion.
They're in debt though.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So that would have been $4 billion last year, which is 1,000 million, right? Isn't it 1,000 million, right? So a billion is 1,000 million, and that's four of those. 4,000 million.
In one bill. So we got a few questions. I actually got a number of questions.
Any from our?
I think one actually. I think one, yeah. I think one. All right, please more. Brother Gary sent a testimonial. Greetings, Moors. I wanted to enlighten you all about a recent experience I had on the 9th of April. That Saturday morning, I went to work and had thought, maybe today I will wear my fez since I just received it. Moving forward, I just arrived at work and one of the lead supervisors notices my fez and stops to ask if what I was wearing was a fez. I replied yes. It was with a smile. I replied yes, it was with a smile, and continued toward my department. Now, it's been about an hour since I've arrived, and suddenly the manager appears walking towards me, startled due to my fez in plain sight, and decides to tell me, I don't care if you wear it in the back room, however, you cannot wear it on the floor. No hats are allowed. So I asked, why not? He replies, because I said so, and it's a hat, and no hats are allowed. I took a deep breath and calmly stated that it is not a hat. It is my traditional headwear, and it is my religious right to wear it, and you are violating my First Amendment. He continued to pressure me into submission, but I pressed back by telling him to go call HR, and I have them tell me I cannot wear my fez. And I asked them if they would tell a Muslim that he can't wear his kufi or a Jew his kippah. So 3 hours have passed, and I'm just walking around greeting customers, chatting with people who know what my fez is, and doing my daily duties, and he sees all this taking place with this confused look on his face. Like, why are these people so interested in his fez? Moving forward, I head towards the back, and the manager shows up asking me about orders, and as soon as he was about to leave, quickly turns around and says, oh, by the way, you can wear your fez. I stood in silence and stated, thank you. I appreciate you telling me. Now, this is my second experience about anything related to Moors, and trust me, I used to have fear. However, when you know who you are and stand by the Prophet, everything is good. No fear.
Thursday, a lady chased me out after I came out the bus. Chased me and catch me out. I like your hat. Where can I get one? She's from Nigeria, I think.
Nigeria, yeah. Igbo.
She asked me, where you get that hat? I'd love to wear one. Yeah.
I get the same thing, and then I turn around and say, it's just my hair.
Brother Gary, once again. I was having a discussion with a brother, and I really want to know, can a Mason be a Moor? If not, what are those who call themselves Masonic Moors? Brother Kudro, you are a solid and no-holds-barred brother with energy beyond degree when it comes to checking and exercising these dirty Moors. I really need to know who is a dirty Moor and what are the signs. Also, are we to call a brother or sister doing good and helping to uplift humanity? Are we to call a brother or sister doing good and helping to uplift fallen humanity a dirty Moor if they say something contrary to what is fact? Remember, they are doing good with no signs of tricking people or anything. What would you say to those who have no temple in his or her area and they have decided to go through RV Bey publications to proclaim? Would you say that they need an elder Moor by his or her side, or they can put the paperwork on the public record themselves with the aid of an elder Moor? For new Moors, once they have proclaimed, what would your words of wisdom be for them regarding colonizers' instruments? Should they get rid of them? If so, can they navigate through society normally as they did once asleep? So the first question, can a Mason be a Moor? If the Mason is an Asiatic, if the Mason is a dark-skinned person, they're already Moor, right? And they joined, an organization, just like people join sorority or whatever like that. You know what I mean? Because the idea is that the Masons know that they were taught by the Moors. Right? They know that. They're not going to reveal that because the secret, like I was telling somebody last night, the secret of Freemasonry or the secret of the societies is that, one, it's built around Hiram Abiff, who was a brother, who was a Moor. Two, they took everything Moorish and went underground with it and pretend to be Moors in secret. That's why they got fezzes. That's why all their temples are called Alhambra and Sheba and things that aren't European, right? You're not gonna find some Masonic thing that's called European something. It's all Moorish, ancient Egyptian, Sumerian, whatever else practices. United States and Canada, anything above Mexico is really Morocco. Another secret that they don't want to give up. Because again, if they give up these secrets, then it's not a secret. But that's why we have, if you go to that's why we have, like when the brother was saying good Moors, that's why we have Moors like Brother Abdullah. Brother Abdullah Bey with his website moorcivilletter.net, that we push this website for anybody who wants to know about the connection between Moors and Masons. You go to this website, and this website is going to be an extensive breakdown as to that connection, right? Because what's interesting about, even with the brothers asking, can a Mason be a Moor? There's Masons that call him to come teach at their lodge. All over the place. Masons call him. And the Mason who has to make the call to him has to be the head of the lodge. So it's not some, underling that wants to, I want to hear what you have to say. This is the top guy that's reaching out to him, telling him, you know, you need to come and teach some of the stuff we see on your website and whatever. We need to know some more, right? Because all these so-called black Masonic jurisdictions are realizing that they've been cheated, right? Brother Bakari was telling me about when before he came into the information, and he was into trying to join a lodge. And the thing that turned him off was, well, how come, you know, they're talking about this brotherhood thing or whatever, you know what I mean? All I have to do is be a Mason and then we get the benefits of, you know, whatever, you know what I mean? But the European lodge looks like some cathedral of whatever, and the black guy's lodge looks like a cardboard box. And the Europeans aren't even looking at assisting them in making their cardboard box a cathedral or whatever. They just let them be where they are. And then the Negro Masons are content that, oh yeah, well, it's brotherhood, you know what I mean? We're all brothers or whatever, but their stuff doesn't look like how the European stuff looks, right? So what all the Masons need to do is come home. Stop playing this game like you have to be Masons or whatever, because, you know, we teach, you know, a Mason is a son of his mother. So you don't need a lodge to be a son of a mother. You're that already. Like, you don't need to go join some organization, pay them thousands or whatever to be a Mason. You were already that, right? Who is a dirty Moor and what are the signs? So when we say dirty Moors, we're talking about anybody who classifies those people as Negro, Black, Colored, African, or whatever like that. We're not just talking solely people who have fezzes on and got a nationality card. We're talking about any individual that's pushing something other than what Noble Drew Ali had laid down for the redemption of our people, right? And they're willingly and openly pushing contrary stuff. Not that, you know what I mean, they made a mistake or they made an error.
They don't know.
You know what I mean? Yeah, like they know that they're doing that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They know that they're setting up this debate between a Moor and a black guy to cause division, right? A dirty Moor, from what, you know, our experience, right, that are taking the information that's free and putting a price tag on it, right? Because any information that comes from the school of thought of Moorish science belongs to the people. It does not belong to that individual to say, well, you know, I went to the library and put in 50 hours of study and all these books or whatever, so I'm going to sell you this thing for whatever, right? You know, and when we say sell, we're not talking about, you know, administrative costs. We're talking about, you know, hundreds and thousands for little things, papers, you know what I mean? Cards, whatever it is, right? Dirty Moors are people who know that there's a succession from Noble Drew Ali, and they follow the individuals who claimed that they're the successors but weren't really successors. So that information you would find out if you just check the FBI papers of all these organizations that people claim to belong to. So, you know, all these individuals that were heads of Nation of Islam are dirty Moors, because all of them came from Moorish Science Temple. They already know that nationality is the order of the day. All these so-called black revolutionary guys that want to call Khalid Muhammad their prophet and honor Khalid Muhammad, But he said that he's a Moor, but they don't bring up that part. They'll bring up all the other stuff that he brought up, but they're not going to bring that up. Those people, they're dirty Moors. Because he told these people that I'm Moor, and he got sense enough to know that he's Moor. Which qualifies him to be able to say black and black power and all that stuff, because he knows that nationality is the order of the day. Right? Anybody who talks against Amazight Bey is a dirty Moor. As soon as you say, yeah, I was studying Amazight Bey, oh no, you can't listen to that, yeah, because as soon as you hear that stuff, you already know. Dirty Moor. As soon as they start talking bad about RV Bey publications, dirty Moors. They're talking bad about Alim Bey, dirty Moors. Talking bad about Kudro, dirty Moors. Talking bad about Canaanland Moors, dirty Moors. Talking bad about Rami Salam L, talking bad about Cosmo L, talking bad about any Moors that are active, not passive, dirty Moors. Because the dirty Moor coin term is because really these people are niggers, but Drew Ali said don't call them niggers, call them dirty Moors. So we're trying to be, you know what I mean, civilized with them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they're really niggers with fezzes on. Really and truly, that's what it is. And then if you know what a nigger is, you know that you don't want those people around. You know that you don't trust anything that they say. You know that's the last people that you're going to give your dollar to, because they're going to take that dollar and use it against you. Right?
Take you to Brampton Courthouse.
Right. Sell you to the Law Society of Upper Canada and stuff like that. Right? Brothers and sisters that are doing good but are talking contrary to what is fact. So, for example, Moors in New York Republic. Moors in New York Republic have a business, quote unquote, where they manufacture their own brand of toilet paper, right? You know, industrious acts. I mean, Moors should be supporting them. But they say, don't proclaim your nationality, naturalize. They don't say get judicial proclamation and name correction. They say oath of amnesty under Abraham Lincoln. You know, yeah, they're doing some good, but, you know, they kind of fall on the dirty Moor side. You know what I mean? You know, because you're causing confusion. You know what I mean? Because we know that it's not naturalized. We can look it up and know that it's not naturalized, right? Noble Drew Ali told Moors that in the divine constitution, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality. So if the member is supposed to proclaim their nationality, then that means nationality supersedes membership. The person has to have a nationality to proclaim in order to be a member. And Noble Drew Ali told Moors that what your nationality is. So anybody trying to tell people that, oh, well, because you're black, you're not a Moor, or because you didn't proclaim you're not a Moor, that's fiction. Right? That's not a reality. Right? That's not a reality. Peace, Moor. Right? So we're not taking away from the good stuff that they did. We'll pump the good stuff that they did. But, you know, as far as like finance is concerned, if we're gonna say that these individuals that are doing something contrary are asking for finance, then your finance is funding their contrary activity, which, you know, makes you, you know, in conspiracy with, you know what I mean, right? It's almost a conflict of interest. You shouldn't really be supporting them on that level. Give them moral support. Let some Negroes go buy their toilet paper. You know, tell the Negroes, yo, instead of going whatever, you know, why you go buy toilet paper from those Moors? Moors, personally, I wouldn't say go buy their stuff, because now you're sanctioning the BS that they're doing, right? What would you say to those who have no temple in his or her area that decided to go through RV Bey publications to proclaim? That's probably the only option that you have why you did that. Because we know that due to the infiltration, the idea was to suppress the activity of the Moorish Science Temple by having individuals head it that were, you know, FBI informants or whatever like that, and keep the movement out of the public. So it's like a Moor called me the other day, and he was on the bus, right? Had his fez on and all that stuff, and Moor came up to him, you know, what temple you belong to? I belong to a temple. You know what I mean? The temple I belong to is Canaanland. Why are you wearing your fez outside of the temple? Right? This is the Moor that's in the temple, that's on the bus, that doesn't have stuff on, right? That bumped into a Moor that's active, that knows that this is birthright, this is not some club right, right? And he's questioning him on why is he wearing his temple outside, right? Now, in that case, that Moor might not be a dirty Moor. That might be a Moor that was just taught by a dirty Moor.
Yeah, he doesn't know as much.
So he doesn't know as much. He's not privy to certain information, right? So, you know, it comes across like he's doing something wrong when it's really not him, it's his teacher. You know what I mean? Right? And if his teacher is teaching him wrong like that, then, you know, that individual meeting this Moor on the bus was for him to get higher knowledge, because he was getting raped mentally wherever he was at. And then the Moor that you know he bumped into, that's a Moor that has blog talk radio show, that's a Moor that uses his Facebook Live and stuff like that and makes videos all over the place, just putting out the information. We don't even care who hears or whatever. If we got some info, if we see something out there, oh, there's a fez on a light pole out there, we're gonna take a picture of this, send it over to everybody. Hey, look what we found as Moors. Whereas other people would, you know, oh, we can't really talk about this. I have to, let me go talk to my Grand Sheik first and see if I get permission to go talk about some stuff that I found outside of the temple, right? Relative to our history. But majority of Moors that are coming into the movement right now are using RV Bey publications to proclaim, because majority of the Moors that are coming into the movement right now don't have a temple where they're at. And they don't have a temple where they're at because, once again, dirty Moors that played this position of trying to own what Noble Drew Ali had, instead of giving it to the people, they're holding it up like it's their stuff, you know, like some sorority hand stuff that, you know, oh, only the sorority knows how to do this, when this is everybody's stuff. And it should be accessible to everybody. And whether they're part of a temple or not, doors should be open for anybody to walk in off the street and get some information. Anybody, Moore even told me that he called some temple somewhere, he wanted to get a Circle 7. They're like, nah, we ain't giving you no Circle 7. You're not a member.
No way. Seriously?
You're not a member, so you can't get this. Right? And now that individual, you know, luckily there's RV Bey Publications and Canaanland and all these other places where he could, but, you know, if he would have took that as example of what Moorish movement is, he's done. He ain't going back.
Yeah,
That's it.
And when you get to in that situation where people tell you got to be a member, that should, you know, the light should go on automatically.
Yeah.
Because if you have, how are you going to be a member of something you have no idea what it's all about, type of thing? And if you decide, well, okay, I'm going to do it their way and become a member, then they got you, you know, because they don't really have the best intentions for you in the first place. They don't care about you. They're just trying to get you to join them for whatever reasons that they have. They have their own agenda, but it's not Moorish science.
And just so the more on the bus was Brother Amazight Bey, and he has Blog Talk. So you can go on his archives, Blog Talk Radio, Amazight Bey Show. Just to give him his little plug right there. So people should check that out. And then as far as the wisdom for new Moors regarding colonizers' instruments, like we talk about, go on to RV Bey Publications, download the PDF about how to live within contracts, read that over a few times, and study. The best advice that we can give anybody coming into this is, if you have the colonizers' documents right now, until you are competent, until you are sure about what it is to do or not do with those documents, leave them as they are and go study. It's no different than if you have a library card for one library and that place doesn't have your books, you're going to go to another. You're not going to throw away the library card from the other library because you went to this other library over here. You know what I mean? You're going to continue, using what you have. All right? This one is Brother Keenan L. Islam Brother Kudro, honors for linking some of us here in Detroit together. I follow you and others like you that are trying to live with love and peace. The question is for Moors all around the Republic. The best way to assemble in the said territory to form a study group is one day. My question is, for Moors all around the Republic, the best way to assemble in the said territory to form study groups is to form study groups to one day be able to link up as a whole in the future. Well, the central point for majority of the Moors coming into the information right now that are of that open-minded spirit is RV Bey Publications. That's the hub, right? Moorish Heritage and History School. Any video, book, DVD, whatever by Taj Tariq Bey. That's like the central point. That's the central meeting point for all Moors. So when we went to North Carolina, it was Moors that were on that frequency that were there. So if you saw the event, you see how it went. When we went to Cincinnati, it was Moors that were on that frequency that were there. And then if you saw the event, you know how it went. Yesterday, got a call from Moors in the UK. Oh, forgot to bring this up yesterday at the summit. Those Moors in the UK are Hebrews. Right? And what are they doing? They're trying to figure out how they can, apply the information that they're studying out there. But they're Hebrew. And they know that that's not a nationality, that's a tribe of Moors. The national name of us is Moors. They know that in the UK. So, and they're looked at as, on the beaten path because they're way over there, and how does their stuff apply or whatever like that when, they're further ahead than half the people that are here that claim that they got some knowledge or whatever. Because at least they're, suppressing the idea of their belief, which they're Hebrews, they're entitled to that belief, but that belief has nothing to do with out there. Like we were talking about, I was talking to one of the brothers yesterday after the summit that, when you look at, if we say Chinese people. There's Chinese people that are Christian, Buddhist, Muslim, atheist, whatever. They're not bickering or whatever about religion and who believes what and you should follow my stuff and all that stuff like how we do. All of them know that they're Chinese. You're not going to tell them that they're not Chinese regardless of what their belief is. So it's the same perspective that we have to have when we start coming around with other people that don't have a nationality, that when we connect with them, you know, don't bring up your beliefs to me. I don't care about your beliefs. You got nationality? Yeah, my nationality. Oh, sorry, that's not no nationality. Come again. Well, in the Bible, I told you, don't bring up the beliefs or whatever. We don't want to hear nothing about your belief system. Right? What is your national mindset if you claim that you belong to a nation? And where's your proof that you belong to that nation? Like we say all the time, the only people in any of the conscious groups or whatever that can pull out something and show you is Moors to prove who we are. Nobody else is going to everybody else is going to pull out something that they got from the state to say that that's who they are. Right? And why we can do that is because we're speaking from that Aboriginal indigenous perspective, where UN declarations of rights enforces that we have the right to say who we are and create our own documents. We have a right to do that. So when we have our own documents, don't let Moors tell you where do you get that from. That didn't come from the temple and stuff like that. We don't need nothing from the temple to exercise our rights. You know what I mean? But we have one because it is a regency. It is a safe haven for people. It is, you know, relative to what an embassy is in a foreign country. That something goes down, every movie. The guy always runs to the embassy when stuff gets thick or whatever. Every movie. That's what they do. Same thing. That's what it's there for. Right? Whether he did something good or bad, when the get down gets down, they run to the embassy. Right? So it's the same idea. So as far as you know, Moors coming together, you know, like we said, we're in Canaanland. Went to Cincinnati, went to North Carolina, met Moors there, you know what I mean? Hand-gripped Moors there. So there's unity amongst Moors. But that's particular Moors that there's unity amongst. And those are the Moors that look at RV Bay as a hub, Blog Talk Radio, MHHS, Eyes Wide Open as a hub, Sons of Allah as a hub, Taj Street Bay as a hub, MoorsCivilLetter.net, Amazight Bay, particular Moors gravitate on a particular frequency, and that's where we stay. That's our home base. We don't have any issues with anybody else, but if you're not down with the home base, then don't, you know what I mean, try coming around us or whatever, because we don't play non-bias. Like, we're biased. You know what I mean? Right? Bias to the prophet. Right? Talib El Bey, the reason for this email is to inquire as to the status of my nationality, student and traveler's card. I received an email from RV Bay Publications on March 27th. Right now it's April 17th. Giving me the option to either send the cards directly to me or send them to you and receive them for you. Seeing as this is the procedure for Canaanland Moors, I decided to work with the system. If Amari El Bey could contact me at his earliest convenience, it would be appreciated. Thank you, sisters and brothers, Hotep. Now, one of the issues that Brother Amari El Bey, the Grand Secretary, has with people's nationality cards is that they don't do like you and come to the temple. They send emails. They make phone calls. When we say flyer, here's our event, they're not there. But, you know, if they order some stuff or whatever like that, you know what I mean, they want to come pick it up and then, you know, scurry out the door. Right? That's not what this is. They got mail sitting there for people for about 3 months. They're not getting no calls that the mail's there. Because you should know that you sent out something, that something should be coming for you, that, if that's the mailbox right now, you should be checking to see if there's stuff in your mailbox. No different than the one at your house, that you're not going to call me and, check my mailbox, see if anything's in there. No, you're going to go check the mailbox. Right? And again, it's not a thing of, it's like people are going to say, it's like the issue that we had with the brothers who backdoored to try to get nationality cards, right? They're siding with Amazight Bey, the more who we had the tribunal, excommunicated him, expelled him. He has nothing to do with us anymore. But they contacted RV Bey through him to try to get nationality cards. Logically, because, like we said, the mindset of certain Moors, they said, well, you just call secretary. See if he knows these guys, because, the custom from Canaanland is that when cars come to RV Bey, the address is saying this address. It's not saying some foreign address to here, right? So as soon as they get some application from somebody and it's saying an address that's not this address, and Amari didn't send it to him, already they got, flags, bells, whistles, and stuff going off. Who are these people? Maybe they're trying to infiltrate. Maybe they're trying. That's where their mentality is. That's automatically where their mentality goes if they get something that's not from Amari, as far as nationality cards, paperwork, or whatever like that, right? So, they sent this stuff, he checked the stuff, went, checked the back, checked through the applications, because in order for you to apply for the card, you have to have a form a membership form. You're not going to not be a member and go through RV Bey and get a nationality card, because prerequisite is you have to be a member, right? If you don't want to be a member and you just want a nationality, then, you go to some other people, because you're not going to get anything through RV Bey unless you're a member here. That's just what it is, right? So they weren't members. So, send them back their money orders or whatever. Like, There ain't nothing for us to do. Unless they call you and say differently, send them back their stuff, because you don't want these people, because you already know. It's just like this one right here. March 27th, they told me that they're going to send it to you and all that stuff right there. It's 17th right now. If they did send it on the 27th, you're looking at 2 weeks mail, plus long weekends that just passed, 2 of them or whatever like that. March break too. So, there's going to be backlog. So it might not really come in 2 weeks. It might be a little longer than 2 weeks, So, if people had took the time, study, instead of whatever, they wouldn't even be concerned about where's the card and all that stuff, because they'd be too busy studying. And time's going to go so fast that a month will pass by, they wouldn't have their stuff. They wouldn't even know that they didn't have their stuff. Right? So, to all the people who are in Canaanland that want to, get nationality, and we want to be, you need to come to your temple meetings. You need to come to your classes. You need to show allegiance to the Moorish Science Temple of America.
Islam.
If you don't, then I don't know. We don't know what to say. Like, It's gonna. Allah governs it after that.
That's right.
Because we put it out there. What the prerequisite is, right? Have anything to add on to that? Yeah?
No.
All right. Brother Eric Hutchins. I see that you responded to my email on air. That was a surprise because I wasn't expecting it. I was just offering a small token of my thanks. I wasn't trying to get a shout out. We shout you out. You know what I mean? That's what we do. I also noticed that you didn't address me by name, but you did other mailers. Now, there could be reasons why. You may know them personally, I don't know, but I get it. I just want to be clear that I'm not trying to be a fanboy. I admire your work along with the countless others who offer perspectives on this information that I might overlook, so I appreciate deeply. I was raised as a Christian, so there are some scriptures that I still live by. Like there is a scripture that says, honor those that labor among you. So that's what I did. I always know you advocate studying more than anything, and I agree. But the way you addressed my email and even the way you even responded to my comment before, I felt that it was very dismissive, as if I'm trying to be accepted or a fan. I am not a brother you seem... I'm not, brother. You seem like a cool, down-to-earth, no-nonsense brother, and that's peace. However, I'm not a nigger or a cheerleader. I have no hidden agenda to become anything but a learner for those who want to know. Just picked up a vibe that was like I was sweating you, or I'm looking for your acceptance. I wasn't... I wasn't more. I just appreciate your perspective, and I use the information for my growth and scholastic development on this path. When man honors man, he honors his Father God Allah. Just wanted to learn in peace. Islam.
That's the first letter that ever made me dizzy. That's crazy.
Everybody has their own pace, you know. Sister Kadira Bey. I've been asking everyone, I've been going through a lot of things, and I'm begging active Moors and been trying to get a hold of Taj Tariq Bey. Maybe you can help. Is there any way to contact or someone that I can speak to? Best individual to speak to is Brother Setan Rabe. If you're on Facebook or whatever like that, get at Setan Rabe. He does classes in Philadelphia with Brother Taj. That's the best individual, because he's if it comes to doing lectures out of town or whatever, he's chauffeur most of the time. So if anybody has direct contact with him, that'll be the individual, that has contact with him. Brother Setan Rabe on Facebook, or you can email Moorish Directory, MoorishDirectory.com, and those brothers there also have contacts with Brother Taj. All right, Mark.
It's great seeing you.
Yo, good to see you too, fam.
Be safe, all right?
All right.
All right, everybody. Be safe, family. Be good.
Peace, Islam, safe travels.
Don't forget to pay your taxes now. Don't be late on that.
If we were called Moors back in ancient times, who came up with other names like Phoenicians, Egyptians, Kemites, Cushites, Nubians, Hamites, etc.? Also, when we say we are descendants of Moab, why do people like to bring up incest story from the Bible? Why do some temple Moors spread the message the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was only about being in the temple, as if he was not among the people? What good is it being in the temple if the people that need to be reached are outside the temple? If temples are 501c3s, then how does that do Moors any good when it comes to paperwork? So the other names, Phoenicians, Egyptians, Kemites, Cushites, Nubians, Hamites, etc. Prior to European colonization, those people's names were those people's names. So it's just like when you say, I'm Cujo L. Nobody made that up for me. That's my name. When you look at the historical reference points of these people, you realize that all these people, Phoenicians, Egyptians, Kemites, Cushites, Nubians, Hamites, etc., are all dark-skinned people. So in 2016, we'll classify them as Moors, because Moor is the name of dark-skinned people, right? When we say we are descendants of Moab, why do people like to bring up incest story of the Bible? Well, when we look at every individual coming from one so-called African woman, right? If every individual comes from one African woman, that means that one woman is our mother. So if that one woman is our mother, that means everybody who came out of her are brothers and sisters, which means that that's incest. But they're not complaining about that. But as soon as Moors come up, and Moabites, oh, now incest, and, oh my gosh, you can't believe you guys want to side with the Moab and Lot and all this type of stuff. Well, people are entitled to their brainwash. You know what I mean? And again, like we were talking about yesterday, if you're using King James as a reference point, if King James is your reference point to say that, Moabites were incestuous, that's the word, that's how you say it, incestuous, right? If Moabites are incestuous, then clearly you need to go check yourself, because King James is not a good reference.
Now, I think Tessie's answer yesterday was pretty good too. When
Yeah.
he talked about a lot of these Bible stories are allegories.
Right.
You know what I mean? And people want to take their scriptures, their Bible, their Quran, their whatever, and take them literally. Now, I don't know much about the Bible or the Quran or any of these other books, but from the little bit that I do know, there's a lot of stuff in it that I don't know if you should be taking it literally. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
A whole lot of stuff. I mean, people's ages. I don't know if people live to be about
500
I
years
have no
old,
idea.
yeah.
All the different little stories that there are in there. Tessie said yesterday that it was an allegory about the information being transferred. It was a transfer of information, and it had nothing to do with a physical act in terms of when they're talking about incest. There's a lot of that stuff in the Bible, but it's not all literal.
Well, incest is basically keeping your bloodlines. It's all about bloodlines. Like if you go to the monarchy over in England, they're all sleeping with cousins
True.
Right.
to keep the bloodline.
Yeah, but that's something, I understand what you're
Yeah.
saying. I'm talking about how literal are we supposed to take the Bible? Seriously.
Well, it's a point of view. It's a reference, but it's not the actual events.
Events,
it's
right.
more like metaphoric.
Right.
Well, that's
right.
exactly what I'm saying.
Right.
There's a lot of different parables and stories in the Bible about a whole bunch, burning
Like the
bushes
flood.
and things
Yeah.
like this.
Burning
Talking
Yeah.
talking bushes.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And- and-
When I mean on the flood that destroyed the whole world, they said they saved
Thank
one
you.
family.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Well, there you
Think
go.
about it.
But some people
Whole
will take
world
the Bible
Flood
and it's,
one family saved. It's a Chinese or a European or whatever. It's only one.
yeah.
You tell me from that one family make all the rest.
Thank you. Well, there
And again,
I rest
before
my
it
point.
destroyed, how many different nations
Were there, yeah.
How many different nations before that flood?
Exactly.
And then he saved one nation out of the flood and used that nation to make back all these nations again. So why you take that part?
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I'm
My
saying.
mother, she gave me an answer to that one.
Right. Never do.
So, I mean, the problem with sometimes with talking to people who are going to base their arguments on what it says in one book,
Yeah.
it's a losing battle.
Yeah.
It's a losing battle. You
But
can't
they'll fight you to the tooth and nail.
Oh, yeah.
They'll
Oh,
fight
yeah.
you tooth and
Oh, yeah.
nail. You say something about the Bible? Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
It's like war.
Yep.
You know, but just how literal are you going to take it?
Yep.
Yeah,
I can
because-
read fairy tales.
Yeah.
That's why we shouldn't read our children fairy tales, because they're not true, and they get these ideas that, Prince Charming and she fits the frog, and next thing you know, he was a
Frog
prince.
turned to a
You know what I
dude,
mean?
yeah.
And if you're thinking along at that level, then it's difficult to have a conversation with you. Very difficult. But,
Fairy tale
this
mentality.
is not judging anybody, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
think outside the box. Don't allow yourself to just say, I'm gonna follow the dogma. This is what this says, therefore this is the law,
This is what
and
it
there
is.
are no other
Yeah.
parameters. This is all there is to it, and don't tell me anything different. You have a closed mind.
Right.
You have to open up your mind and look at and look at something and say, is this really possible? Could this have actually happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The power of thinking.
Exactly.
Well, you gotta look at it this way.
So, go ahead, go ahead, bro.
No, you go on.
When, a parent raising a child, okay, you're gonna give that child information that you have, right, from birth. Now, for that child to grow up with your programming or information, to break out of mother and father's programming, you gotta go through a lot mentally.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
So you're taught wrong.
There
from
you
the
go.
beginning.
From the
From
jump,
all
yeah.
generations.
So when you come with the truth, it's like, no, you can't say that to me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You can't say that.
Not
to me.
all.
No way.
Now,
That's
now I have to go back to my mother,
Yeah.
my father, and say, this
Face
person
them,
said
yeah.
this,
Yeah,
and this
yeah,
person.
yeah.
But don't listen to that person. I'm your mother.
Yeah.
You know, you got to break that programming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whether that programming is wrong in the beginning, it's still coming from a source where I believe my mother, I believe my father.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And the other thing, I just have to say this about the Bible. My mother was a Jehovah's Witness. She knew her Bible and all that jazz.
I come from a Christian
This is not
background.
about slamming
I
and
Yeah.
can't touch the Bible.
Well, there you go.
It's
But
not about slamming, it's about clothesline from the top.
it's like, now I'm sorry, I lost my train.
Oh, you say Martin-
Jehovah's Witness.
It's about the, again, getting back to the whole thing about it being literal. If we want to talk about slavery, we can argue about slavery and say that we all know that every nation on the planet has been enslaved by some other nation at some point in history. That's a given. But we know that in our story of slavery, the melanated people of the planet, they say it was a lot more. I don't believe it was that many of us, but they didn't allow us to read. But the only book that they allowed us to read was
the Bible.
The Bible.
Yeah.
Now, think about that. Why the heck? And then in this Bible that they're telling you to read, it's nothing but negative stories about your own people.
Your own people.
Curse, right?
Yep.
The curse.
And they're telling your people that the people in Egypt, what do? They enslaved the people of Israel for how many hundreds of years, and so on and so forth. So there's more division there. It's all about divide and conquer. And if you got to look at this, you have to look at it and put the emotion aside. Put aside all that you believe and all the emotion and all that other stuff and say, okay, let me look at this kind of objectively. You know, let me pretend I'm not a Christian, I'm not a Muslim, I'm not a Jew, I'm not any of those things. I got no religion. Let me look at this thing
Right.
with brand new eyes
Right.
and see how much of it really makes sense and how much of it looks like some sort of a real ulterior motive on the part of these oppressors. Straight up.
Because like with regard to slavery thing, they say like for specifically Jamaica now where I'm from, that's how I grew up, like learning that
The
we
Bible.
come here as slave. We come to Jamaica
Yeah.
as slave. And like you said, the Bible, they brought us there as slave, never teach us to read, we can't touch a book. The first thing I want to know, when we came, what language did we talk? Some African language, because I come to Canada and I meet a lot of African people and they don't talk what I talk over there. How come they bring them from there, don't teach them to read, but they teach them the Bible and they learn the Bible so well that they forget the language, and not even one grandbaby or great grandbaby they didn't tell a couple African words that could pass on to me. I don't get none.
There you go.
How that go? How you explain that?
Right.
Maybe we didn't come from Africa.
Maybe.
Say it.
The funniest thing though,
And I see other people, I got Palestinian friends come over here,
Yeah.
have babies here, and they teach them Palestine and English.
Everybody else
Yeah.
knows their history and their language.
Good,
and their
so
culture.
what happened to our African that they
Right.
brought us over there?
Yeah.
Not even a couple words we never saved to pass on?
Well, Africans who actually came from the continent, their children and their grandchildren know some of the languages
Yeah.
from back home.
Uh-huh.
But if we don't come from there, how the heck are we supposed to know any of these languages?
Right.
Exactly,
You know?
Right.
exactly.
yeah. Well, first thing I wanted to say something about the Bible thing. Right. The funniest thing to me with the Bible is that people's gonna take what they want from it, but the stuff that's there, like I'm from a Christian background too, and I'm like, even before I got the information, I used to say, well, the Bible says Jesus was ear of wool, feet of brass, and they're like, so I'm saying like, what's up with that? And they're like, oh, you're this and you're that, or you're a heathen. And I'm like, I'm not saying the Bible says.
Thank you. I'm a heathen,
Well,
and I don't
you
have
guys-
any problems.
why is it-
Look it up in the
Yeah,
dictionary.
exactly. Why is it you guys want to just pick and choose what you want, but
Yeah.
then when I'm trying to be like overstand
Open-minded,
something,
yeah.
you guys are like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm being like this kind of. It doesn't. No, they say, oh, it doesn't matter if he's white or black. I'm like,
Take the
okay, I
pictures
know it
out of
doesn't
your
matter.
churches and your kingdom halls and all
Exactly.
that, and don't have any pictures.
Yeah.
It doesn't
If it
matter.
doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well, if it doesn't matter, why do you guys keep on accepting this line then?
Yeah.
Just saying, why can't they, why do you guys keep on accepting it? Like,
Right.
My mom, I used
Yeah,
to
you
cut
had
my
something,
mom
Kenta?
because I tell her,
they can finish off, I'm just.
I tell her, like I told you yesterday, I tell her, when I talk to her, I said, she asked me, when are you coming home? I'm longing for you to plait my hair, because I always plait her hair. So no, I don't cut my hair again. So I'm telling her, I can't wait to come back to here, Mom. And I want you to plait mine too. She goes, what happened? You don't cut your hair again? I goes, Mama, you remember that Jesus picture you showed me and tell me about Jesus? I've been looking and I can't find one where he cut his hair. So I decided not to cut mine. So I look like Jesus now, Mama. I'm coming home soon.
Well, she's gonna be shocked when Jesus comes back.
Don't even want to say anything else because she knows she's the one telling me about Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus never cut his hair.
It just seems that, even from yesterday and just thinking about it, it just seems like the dogmatic way of life. It's only successful if you're fearful. Again, that whole false evidence of being real.
That's right.
Because one of the things I know personally for me, because I swayed back and forth, and anytime I felt like I was getting away, that fear of God, that come raining.
God's gonna do something.
Yeah. And they would always keep me in check, and then, as I started getting deeper into metaphysics and the occult and all that stuff, it's just, one of the first things you learn is that all these things are superstition. And again, you start getting into the power of the mind, and whatever the mind manifests, it happens and stuff like that. So when I started getting into a whole bunch of stuff, one of the first things I had to strike down was fear.
Yeah.
Even the fear of darkness and just going into places that would just make you feel like, something's gonna get you.
Yeah.
So that whole, even with the brother yesterday, it just seems like he was talking out of fear.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if you don't follow this,
The God's commandments, Yahweh is gonna.
over, like,
Yeah.
why are you gonna do
Still a
something?
Yeah.
I walk him to school every morning.
Right.
And I tell him, you don't fear, not even the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody. Every morning I walk him to school, I tell him. Because at one point, someone tried to play a game on him by telling him he's gonna tell that girl you love him or something. Nothing goes like that. I told him, listen, if he say that again, that's okay. I love girls, not boys. I don't afraid of none of them.
Yeah, fear is like how
This is where they break us up from. We're small.
For real, yeah,
It's just all the crap.
Yeah.
even with me and my child, I'm guilty of trying to get him to be afraid just to have control over him. But then I catch myself, I'm like, because I never like doing that stuff,
No.
But that's what's been taught to us. Like, if you don't go to bed, the dubby's gonna get you. You've been watching Jurassic Park.
You'll be up all night.
Yeah, and then he saw the Velociraptor and stuff like that, and he was just freaking out. So in my head, first thing that hit was like, I got something on him. Yeah, but then I thought about it, I'm having this dialogue with myself, and I'm like, the same thing that you don't want him to get into,
You put it into
you're feeding it to him.
Feeding it,
And
yeah.
it's just, anytime, and it's that form of discipline. Your parents tell you, don't do this is what's happening. So I'm trying to use language to get my, but he's just so, and that's another thing, the children that are being born as of recent, they're coming, you hear that the ancients are coming back. They're the children. And, some of the things that he says to me, it freaks me out. Because he talks to me, use the same language that I use, like he understands what I'm saying.
He does understand.
But it trips me. I feel like I'm talking to a little old dude from way back when. It trips me out.
For real.
That's why you gotta take away the fear so they can express all of that.
Right.
Bring it out, let it
Right.
come out.
Can I touch on that fear thing?
Yeah, go on.
From what I understand, from what I've been learning in all life and going through life, and the fear that people put into their kids, their family, the media, puts fear into you. Oh, Islam's coming, or this coming, we gotta protect our borders. I know, but the media forces, fear into you. You gotta do something right now. You gotta protect yourself. Build a wall. Build a higher fence. Your neighbor's coming to take your lawnmower or something, right? It's just a fear that they're drilling into you.
Yes.
Like I've heard one guy speak from Africa, and he was like a tour. He was on a tour with the tour guide driving the bus, and there's a large lion just on a little hill there. And they're driving around the bus. And they was, oh my goodness, there's a lion! There's a lion! The tour guide say, don't worry about the lion. He already ate today. But everybody else freaking out. And they're freaking, just because the lion's there and there's food there, the lion's going to eat.
So
no, the lion's already ate.
What that tells me, that statement is that this individual has the knowledge.
He has no fear,
right.
even though the lion can kill him anytime.
Right.
The lion's already ate.
Right.
Lions won't just kill for no reason.
Right. And that's the thing. It's like, and people who are not versed of the way of the lion.
If you're installing fear into a society, everything's gonna be like, oh, a Jewish couple just moved in beside. Oh my goodness! Oh, we gotta sell the house. The property value is gonna go down. There's guys with tattoos there. Oh my goodness, tattoos mean bad. Oh. Hey, everything's fear.
Yeah.
Everything's fear.
Well, like she said, it's fear. When it's fear, it's easier to control.
That's the thing.
And which book? I don't know them all. Like I said.
Yeah.
There's more fear in the Bible than
No,
anything
for
else.
real.
My goodness, if you don't do this, I'm going to have a flood for you.
Yeah.
And this is the God now, right? The God that created everybody and
Well,
loved
it was written
everybody,
by man,
but is a
right?
vengeful God.
Yeah.
Now, the older readings that I do, when you read things like the Metu Neter,
Yeah.
God is neutral. God ain't
Right.
good, God ain't bad. God just created us so it could experience.
Right.
Simple as that.
Right.
But then they come along with their teachings that say, I'm going to wipe you all out. This one, there's going to be a swarm of, okay, I'm going to give you one more chance.
That's
You know, like children. They're,
Burning in hell.
well, there you go.
Right.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it's designed to keep us in the mindset.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't say children because that's an insult.
When
to
you
them.
grow up with that, though,
You know
that's
what
the
I mean?
thing. You take that all your life. You
Well,
take
this
that
is it.
fear and anxiety.
They
There's
don't
some
want you
people
to-
who don't
they
even
don't want-
to go out in the middle of the street because they're in fear of,
getting.
I don't know, a
Something's
car
gonna
might
happen.
hit them, a plane might fall out of the sky. Once they come out of their house, there's a plane that's gonna. It's like it's hovering.
Personally, yeah.
Okay, I'm waiting for you to come out of your house. It's the fear that you grow up with, and then you teach whoever's
Well,
around
it's
you.
it's all, like you said, the media and this and that.
Oh, the media is
But
big time.
religion is a big one. Any religion that tells you, first of all, thou shalt not, I got a problem with that right there. No, it's I will not. The 42 admonitions of my act. I have not. So you take the responsibility upon yourself
Right.
to basically do what you know you need to do. It's not somebody having to tell you once
Yeah.
you know the difference between right and wrong.
Self-limiting
Right.
statement.
Thank
Yep.
you. That's the word
Actually, I
I'm
just saw something on the news.
Yeah, it's
the other
right
day.
there.
I mean, just
I
recently,
self-law am master.
Yep.
I just saw something on the news that now I'm not sure if it's all of this the U.S. corporations or like they said now all the churches are able to have guns in the churches, and now they could the members they could go to target practice and they could designate who has a gun.
It's about to go
And I guess-
You kidding me? No wonder yesterday this other guy he wants it so bad. Eh?
Yeah. So you called it.
You probably see some of that news. Nothing he want more than his gun.
Brother Dwight Bay had a couple of queries within the jurisdiction of corporate Canada to move a matter to the next level court for remedy from the so-called Ontario Court of Justice on a civil matter. Would the Supreme Court of Canada be most relevant? You already put it out there that Supreme Court of Canada is the same corporate jurisdiction as all the other quasi-courts. So like we tell Moors with issues that they have, it's about being proactive and not getting into these issues because you're dealing with colonists, inquisitionists that they really, if they get the chance, they're gonna take your head. Simple as that, right? For whatever it is, if they get the chance to get you in their tribunal, they're gonna take a swipe at your head because they have no other way out. Drew Ali told the Moors that the European's not gonna give up till he looks death in the face. Do we as Moors have the ability to do that to the European? I doubt it because they got nukes and all that type of stuff. So just like we were talking about yesterday, you could have your little pistol or whatever, but if these guys have drones and stuff like that, your pistol doesn't mean nothing if stuff goes down. You know what I mean? So, you know, there's no, in this jurisdiction, there's no state republic under the provinces. The provinces are sole corporate entities, and either you are going to be Aboriginal and Indigenous, and in your Aboriginal and Indigenous status, use what you have around you, international laws and things like that, to hold these people at bay, or you're not going to get into the stuff that you get into where you have to go to their tribunals or whatever. Because as soon as you go to those tribunals, guaranteed, if you are 1 centimeter off, 1 millimeter off of your square, they're going to take that 1 millimeter and make it 500 feet against you. Just because. That's just how they do. It's nothing personal. That's just how it is under occupation, right? And that fact that once you go into those tribunals, it's about them extracting some type of finance from you, some way, shape, or form, because they don't really, they can take a Moor and lock them up, but now that Moor has access to people who have no fear. And he has superior knowledge in those brainwash camps and concentration camps called prison. That if it was to really kick off, you just spread the word to all these inmates or whatever, and these guys have problems in there. They have problems if the inmates get hold of the knowledge about birthrights and all that stuff. Everybody who has a court thing, here's the little write-up. That's what you say when you go up there.
But they tell you that in the beginning too.
Yeah.
When they read your Miranda, they say anything that you say can and will be held against you in the court of law. So I could say anything, nothing, regardless of what I said, it's going to be held against me. It's not, you know, it could go either way. It's going to be held against you. So
especially you don't say anything to the police officer.
Well, that's right. You know, you don't. This is not something that you you know, you don't understand.
It makes sense though, because property shouldn't be talking about.
That's true.
No, because they don't know. They don't know the law.
No, I mean,
I will show you something.
As far as being civil in the more too, like they're right. Like anything you say be held against you because you have no authority to say anything. You know, you are property of the state. You are all caps. You are fiction, 14th Amendment. So anything you say, we're gonna use it against you to lock you down, as opposed to, you know, well, you can talk your mouth. No, you can't. But it makes sense, like when they say what they say. It's just.
I've been driving for 19 years, no driver's license. I've been stopped 21 times. I've never seen jail. Now, how can I do that?
Well,
from the little bit of information that I know from watching you guys on
no
on
doubt. I'm not disputing.
And I don't
that.
argue with them.
Right.
I wait till I go see the Magi.
Right.
Because when I get into a court, it's a different scene.
Right. Now, you know better, and what I'm saying is that for
and
people,
that's my trial and error. I could have screwed up. I could be in jail right now.
Right.
But like, you know, for the amount of, you know, like I told them I'm a Moor. I don't have a nationality card, and I'm like reaching in my bag to, and they're like, okay, but the argument going back and forth from what I'm telling them, what I'm hearing, like even this right now, this is a ticket, right? This is illegal,
right?
Not everybody knows it's illegal.
See, but that's
what they're doing is they're suing you because you've caused damage.
No doubt, and I totally get what you're saying. But for an average Joe who doesn't understand what you're saying, anything he said, because again, he's what.
Well, that's why I'm learning too.
Right. And that's why I'm saying they're right, because if you don't know who you are, then anything you say will be.
Right.
Will be
Yeah.
So you don't know who you are.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
don't
that's,
count it.
that's why you need to study and
Right.
study etymology.
Right.
And when I got that etymology information, oh
That's
my
cool,
goodness,
man.
that just blew up everything.
Yeah.
I walked into court like, let me go up there. Before I'm like, man, I'm going to jail, man. But when I saw etymology, I'm like, look at, are you serious? And then I go look through the etymology. You could see a judge or justice of the peace. So I go up to the judge and go, how come I never get to see a justice of the peace? And everybody's looking at me, what this guy on? So, give me a justice of the peace. I'm walking out. And he's looking at me, are you serious? And I say, yeah, because they know a justice of the peace, even Supreme Court justice, a justice of the peace, the guy that comes and marries you guys, everybody, he has power to veto their judgment.
I didn't know that.
Any judge. And they're trying to stop that. So you walk in the court and say, I've seen enough judges, give me a justice of the peace. And I swear everybody's mouth dropped. Are you serious? Because I come dressed like this, no suit and tie, I come dressed, everywhere I go I'm the same, right? So, what's this guy talking about? You know, give me a justice of the peace. And and they're like, how do you know that? And it's like, well, just give me a justice of the peace. I never got to see a justice of the peace. But the rest of the argument, well, it's all different cases, but from what a little bit that I know, like I'm not in jail.
Right. And
You know?
that's you know, like for example with why we tell people to come to their temple meetings.
Yeah.
Because everybody has some type of experience that they went through that, you know, we don't got all the answers because we're up here. But there's so much stuff going on. So many people are waking up. So many people are saying, hold on a second, let me try this and just see what happens or whatever. And, you know, they might, just like brother said, you know what I mean? Hey, you know, no nationality card, nothing like that. You just say, I'm a Moor, let me see your justice of the peace. And they're mute. Then there's obviously something to that process. Like even with regard to the question, you know, how do we move it to the next court for remedy? You know, well, if you're in there, next time, ask for a justice of the peace and see what goes down.
If
You
they
know what I
call
mean?
my bluff, I'll be
You know?
like, nationality card.
Right.
Because I
Right.
mentioned it.
Right.
They know this stuff.
They already know what's up.
They
Yeah.
know this stuff.
And they're counting on us not to know.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I also learned that silence in court is a language.
Of course,
Yeah.
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 When they're not saying it, and they're looking over to the recorder, looking over, they're communicating.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sitting there like, okay, what's it gonna do now? Nobody's gonna say now.
Pulling on the airlobe.
Yeah. They're like, oh. So I'm just like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going in there, just bluffing. And I got out of it. And
Yeah.
I'm here to learn more.
Straight. In my research so far, I have come across the process to initiate a lien. Could you elaborate on this, including how to capture corporate bond number to initiate the suit? Well, we don't even go with initiating liens and capturing corporations' bond numbers. One, because we explained before, majority of them have blanket bonds, so they have one bond to cover everybody, which is you know, illegal or whatever, because everybody should have their own individual bond. Secondly, like we said with the court, if the court is a corporate jurisdiction, then remember that being in Canaanland, there's no, the people are the state republic here. There's no state republic as far as governmental offices that we can go to in substitute of somebody else. Everybody over here is corporate. Everybody over here has their oath to the Queen to make sure that their chattel property, wards of the crown, stay in line. What our position is we have nationality, we're Aboriginal and Indigenous, so you don't have jurisdiction. And then that's it. We don't need to sue. Because again, if you go to them and you sue in their court that's corporate, even if you win, it's not really a win really, because they're a corporation. You went to McDonald's and sued somebody, and they say, all right, yeah, you won the suit. Now you're jumping around because McDonald's gave you a win in court, right? And again, with the bond numbers, if 99% of the time they're not even going to give you the bond number, and that's where it comes into, for example, the Moors south of here, they can do freedom of information requests through FBI, CIA, whatever, and get certain things. We can't do that out here, because who are you going to? Some corporate entity that is registered with Canada, that they're not going to give you the stuff. You can't go to, when they say police services board, file your complaint with them, and then, and then we're going to try to see if we can get some remedy or whatever. They're not getting no, they're a corporation that works for those guys. The Law Society, that's private corporation. They don't care about people's rights and stuff like that. But this is where we are, and we got to deal with them. And the best way to deal with them is put your thinking cap on and deal with things in a diplomatic, competent fashion when you're dealing with them. Because only way you're gonna get out of dealing with them is if you use your own common sense. Do your own rituals on these people. There's nothing that can be told or taught to get you out of whatever. Just like with the brother, you know what I mean? You study the information and you throw a grenade, see what happens. And you know what I mean? Like, something is gonna happen. It's either gonna be in your favor, or it's either gonna be, okay, I gotta go back and check some more stuff, learn some more, and then next week, we'll go at it again. You know what I mean? But out here, they wanna look death in the face before they acknowledge or do anything as far as out here. You know what I mean? And that's not across the board. There are Moors who do the stand on the square and they get through and they have no issues. People dismiss their stuff. Whether you ask for justice of the peace or not, they do their silent look around and stuff like that. Wait till the court's empty and then dismiss this guy's stuff, regardless of what type of issue it is that they're dealing with. Right? So it's luck of the draw out here. There's no real, we can just do something and that's what's going to work, because these people colonized here. You know what I mean? They know that they colonized here. All right? Brother asked a question, why is it that Ghana is offering citizenship and land to quote-unquote African Americans? Mostly it's because they're the ones that put these people in this predicament, because all the slave forts are there. So when they say that we're offering citizenship and land to quote unquote African Americans, that say that they came over there on a slave ship, the next question is, why do you guys wait 400 years or whatever? Why are you guys giving us stuff now? Why do you even do that in the first place? Because you're actually condoning them selling you into slavery by saying, okay, I'm going to take the citizenship and the land now, after the fact. Right? As soon as they said, we're celebrating abolition of slavery, those people should have been given them land and all that. Now wait until 2016 giving people a handout.
But again, they said they're going to be citizen. What citizen?
Right. What citizen? You're going to be Ghanaian citizen?
I mean, if I was from there, they should say, okay, come back home.
Right.
You're home. And that's it.
If they're from there.
Yeah.
Well, you need citizenship if you're from there.
From there.
Exactly. Right. That one, email on that one. That one's extensive. Just want to say thanks for coming yesterday afternoon. I see a lot of loyalty within the temple and how supportive everyone is. Loyalty is what keeps the pieces together. My question is the connection between astrology and Moors. Also, maybe touch on why we have melanin, why Europeans have very little. From my readings, I believe it's something to do with the Temple of Solomon. Well, technically, if we go backwards, the temple of Solomon is really the womb. The building, the place where the building takes place, where there's not the sound of a hammer or the rasping of a saw. So once there's building happening, just like we're saying with the allegory, looking at everything metaphysical. Just like Noble Drew Ali told the Moors to look at everything metaphysical, because he said that everything he said is spirit, so Moors better heed to what he's saying. So if everything he said is spirit, then everything that we perceive or we look at, we should look at it with a spiritual lens, not just mundane lens. We should look at everything from a spiritual perspective. Right? Everything that there's some type of spiritual lesson in everything that's happening. And if we institute that more, we would see more and get further, opposed to looking at everything as face value, or oh, I have this card, so I just show the card and then that's gonna whatever. Well, no, there's stuff behind the card that makes the card actually work. There's stuff behind the paperwork that makes it actually work, not just because you show it, right? Melanin, why Europeans have very little, again comes back to the Temple of Solomon. Has to do with your biological makeup. Are you a being of the sun? If you're a being of the sun, you would be not necessarily cloaked with melanin in your skin, because there's internal melanin, or your organs got melanin. So when we start playing with these elements, you know what I mean? Like, so melanin's carbon, right? Everybody has some bit of it in them in order for them to survive. You can't live without melanin, right? And the people who are furthest away from divinity will have the lesser amount. The people closest to divinity, the people closest to being their God self would have more. But it's not only described in sense of skin, how we look. It's more an internal thing that determines. So like when we look at, like we use the example of Rick Smith, right? Now, that's a European to the average individual, that's looking at things mundane. But when you read his book and you talk to him or whatever like that, he's an Asiatic trapped in a European body. There's no way that he's a European, like how we say, Klansman, skinhead or whatever like that. There's no way that he's quote unquote white man. You know what I mean? Whatever it is that he did in his past life, his punishment is come back here as a European. Right? Peter Moon is another one. That these individuals that are speaking so highly in favor of a culture that's not theirs like that, there's something different with them compared to the other people that are classic or that look just like them. There's something different with them. You know what I mean? And these are the people that we have to acknowledge as, even, you know, during slavery, the abolitionists and stuff like that, people who help people get out of slavery and all that, and say, why are you helping them? They're niggers or whatever. But, you know, they know where their foundation lies. They know that they have a tie, they have a genetic, spiritual connection to these people who are so-called downtrodden or whatever like that, and they have to do their best that they can to assist them in getting out of whatever it is that they're in. You know what I mean? That's why we say that, you know, not every Moor is your brother, not every European is your enemy, because, you know what I mean, it goes both ways. And the connection between astrology and us Moors, one of the biggest connections is the fact that our flag has a star on it that represents Venus, which is astrological. Neophytes, stupid people, ignorant people are going to say, oh, you guys worship Baphomet and all that stuff and whatever. Well, you know, Baphomet has that star branded on his forehead. So, you know, the star doesn't really represent Baphomet if Baphomet has it branded on him. The star supersedes Baphomet. And then we ask people all the time, if that star is so devilish, what came first, stars or Baphomet? And if you're going to convince me that Baphomet came before stars, then, you know what I mean? Leave those people alone in their ignorance and keep it moving. Right. The last question. Islam Kudro, I would like to thank you and all the Canaanland Moors for the continued knowledge. Islam to all active Moors. I'm putting this into the ether. Islam to all Moors who are doctors, scientists, engineers, investors, and business owners, etc. There is a place of pride through history and a place of unity. It is as Moors. I usually have my own answers, but I'm looking forward for the best practice and truthful counsel. Question 1. I have heard this brought up when my appellation is in place. We assumed my wife could take on my latter part, correcting from Jackson born to Jabril Bey and our children, as well as taking on Jabril Bey as well. Is this correct? If your mate is not national, and then you're bringing her in, and you know, we know that the real head of the household is a woman. So if she look at it like you're not giving her your stuff, she's taking your stuff because she's the head of the stuff. so it's not like, you know, you got it and then she's, you know what I mean, being put it on by you or whatever. No, she's taking her stuff.
She sent you
right?
to get it.
She sent you to get it. Right? And now you got it. She's going to take it from you, put it on herself, put it on the children, and now everybody's happy Moorish family.
Yeah.
Right? Look at it like that.
It's kind of like, reminds me of the men who go to work on Friday, they got to bring the pay home for the wife to take care of the household. And that's what it's like.
Bring it home to the boss.
Right, that's it. The woman's the head, the man's the neck.
Right. Question 2. I have nearly completed my quick claim into a family trust. Now the trust I'm talking about, this is Allodion Aboriginal, Paramount and Clear Perfect Trust, which Taj reviewed over in one of his videos. There was some correction done on one of the Tuesday calls with people creating trust. I'm assuming the correction was due to the trust people were creating are fee and not allodio, exactly. I am familiar with land trusts and other protection trusts which are feudal, besides their language and using feudal instruments. Is it proper for Moors to correct the status protect the property and or physical items they control. Now with what as far as trust, look at setting up trust documents is for you to have a jurisdiction that you can put things in that those people have no jurisdiction over. That's the concept of why you're doing the trust, because that's what they do. They say, come on and register your children with us. Come on, register your car. Come on, register your whatever. When you register it, they take it and put it in a trust that you don't have access to. But they let you think that you have access to it because you're the one driving it, you're the one that's seeing your children, so you think that it's yours, but in reality, it's theirs. That's why they can kick the door and come take it anytime that they want. That's why they can say, if you don't have a license, we're going to take it. That's why they can impound it. That's why they can do it, because really, it's their property. It's in their trust. And then after they do that, then you can't get it, because you're locked out, because it's their trust. So it's the exact same thing that they're doing. And like he's saying, the idea is because ours is allodial, not feudal, they can't get to the stuff that you put in the trust. But a lot of issues that Moors have with things of this nature is doing things as usual, doing things without full knowledge. Because you create the stuff, you put the stuff in the trust, and then you study trust more, and you realize, oh, I should have did something else, and then now you gotta go back, correct that, and then if you would have just humbled yourself for an extra month or whatever like that, you would have got everything, and then now you could institute whatever it is that you want to institute. So especially when you're dealing with things like property, and it's like somebody was telling me about an individual that wanted to make a claim. They live in an apartment, and they decided that, okay, well, I found out about this whole fraud or whatever like that, so I'm going to make a claim. I'm going to make a claim on this apartment. All right, cool. But the apartment is part of a bigger thing that's on land. So why don't you just claim the land? Why would you just claim that apartment when you could claim the land, and then anything that falls on the land now is within your jurisdiction, and you can, maneuver from there going forward. So it's the little subtleties that, once we don't get excited because we have this new information, right? And, bring the energy down or whatever, so that we're not clouded with, oh wow, this could work, and we could do this, and bring it down, study the stuff some more in order to make sure that things are done correct, making sure things are done in our favor before we start implementing certain things. Because Moors do it. Moors have set up trusts and put their property in it, and these people can't touch it after the stuff's in the trust, and they'll admit that, oh, it's in the trust, okay, sorry, we can't do nothing, especially if it goes to some court or whatever, because that's what it's coming down to. Who has jurisdiction over it? Does the individual who put it in the trust have jurisdiction, or does the individual who put it in a corporate trust have jurisdiction? And if it's done properly, Aboriginal and Indigenous wins every time, because they don't have jurisdiction once it's set up properly by an Aboriginal Indigenous individual, which is why we push that concept that we're that, so that they can't claim that they have corporate jurisdiction, because corporations can't own anything either. But the corporation could only own something if that thing is corporate. So if the individual is corporate, if the child is all capital letters with a birth certificate, then it's property, it could be owned. If the child is free national, has a birth record, then they have no claim, no tie. right? I think we got all of them. So any closing comments or questions?
Well, I just like to say I'm not a criminal. No, but basically I'm just driving to work, and the car pulls me over, and that's why I tell them I'm driving to work. But it's been 19 years now. I don't have a driver's license. I don't teach that to anybody else. Don't go through what I go through.
Have insurance?
If I don't have a license, I don't have insurance. So, like, I'm not saying it to do it. Don't go doing that. You know, get your license, whatever, be legit, whatever. But from what I found out with the court system, that's why it led me to this, knowing that if you have no contract with the government, there's no legal contract with the government, and you own a property, like if you go out and buy a bike, and you're riding down a bike, and it's your bike, the government doesn't have ownership to take you from that bike. You own it. But the fact that you don't own your own personal car, that should send, like, why is that? That it's the same object, right? It's the same concept. You don't own your car. You own, like, you still pay the bills. You still have to put insurance on it just in case somebody steals it. But the government never helps you pay for the car when someone steals it. But, you know, you've got to pay all these tithes and taxes and liens and levies, and you don't even own the stuff. So it's like it's just going from birth. If you don't sign that birth certificate, you're not property of, you're not ward of the state.
Right.
That means you're a free person. If you walk into court and say, I am flesh and blood, a real person, they don't
move.
have jurisdiction.
Yeah.
They can't put you in jail. So it scratches my head when I see an Aboriginal Indian sitting behind bars. It's like, don't you know you have a treaty with the European for trade, for pelts, and that treaty hasn't gone.
Right.
It's still standing. So the guy's sitting in jail and he's shaking his head, what are you talking about, man? And I'm like, listen, I'm not in jail. 21 times. And I never argue with the police.
But apart
I never argue with the police. I give them my full information, do whatever. But when I show up to court, it's a different story.
it's different.
Because when they announce my name, could this person come up to? And when I come up, I never say nothing. I just say I am flesh and blood. Walk in there and just no jurisdiction.
Yeah, and they know.
And yeah, they know because the judge, he sees what I'm doing, right? And he's like, is he gonna ask me why I did that? He doesn't really say anything. So I'm like, so at the end, I'm leaving the courthouse and I say, why didn't you ask me for my full name? I was like, oh, you wanted me to ask you that, right? Well, everybody else came up and they announced their full name for the judge. Like they'll stand there, like like there's like a little
the bar,
thing,
yeah.
and they come up and they pronounce their full name, and then they go to the pew, and then they legally put themselves as property of the queen.
Yeah.
But when I walk up, I was like, hey. Seriously, that's what I do, and it was only by accident that I did that.
Call me the next time you're
But it's only by accident I did that. I'm like stumbling through court like a real idiot. And I just and I'm just from what little bit I know.
Yeah.
I just put that out there, and then a lot of times I see the judge go like this. He looks.
You know what this story reminds me of? Cujo, I don't know if you can speak a little bit more to it. The story of how the court jester gets the king's heir. I think there's a story how this one person, his mother couldn't afford to make him clothes to go to the court to hang out with the rest of the knights, because I think he wanted to be a knight. But his mom ended up making him like clown clothes and stuff like that.
Or piece together whatever she could find around the house.
Yeah. I heard the story, but I can't remember the fullness of it. But
the thing about the moral of the story was, I think because he was dressed as a fool, like a fool, he got
He got clemency or whatever. Yeah,
he got closer to the
Yeah,
That's because I just wear this.
Right.
I don't wear a suit and tie. I don't
Right,
talk
right.
down to
Yeah.
people.
You just
Like,
go in.
I just go in and say, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and the whole thing with the story, I think the individual, the boy, he just went in just willy nilly, like he wasn't thinking about that's what he had.
I treat people with respect. I don't know you. I treat you with respect. Like
I'm not calling you a fool.
No. But generally, that's how my mother raised me. Like
Right,
everybody
right.
you see, you don't know that person. Treat them with respect. If they disrespect you,
Then that's what.
then,
That's
you know,
when.
and the president of my company that I work with, I say hi to him, whatever. I don't jump up when he comes around and start working. If there's nothing to do, I just sit there.
Yeah.
I just sit there.
What are you gonna
People are
do?
like, what are you doing? This is the president, the CEO. He's a person.
Yeah, that's
Straight up.
You know, like I could cuss out the cops and say, I know my rights and I'm a Moor. And I just sit there and let him do what he's got to do. 'Cause
Yeah.
he's working,
Yeah.
right? It's not about color and whatever. I could like scream and say, oh, this racist guy. You know, and just start, you know, be on CP24 the next morning, you know.
The
But
guy.
everybody at me, I just, Troopers, high officer, I know what you're going to say, but I ain't got it, right? Seriously, I'm just going to work.
Sorry, I
I
don't
don't got it.
Yeah.
He's like, you don't have insurance? You don't have a license? Not for 19 years. I said, what? He had to call it in. He's never seen that before. Well, a couple of them, but, you know, I am going to get legit soon, but, you know.
Yeah, you're legit.
But
You're
when
legit
I
now.
But when I stumbled on, like, it's a lot of hassle. I don't do
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Don't do it. It's a
Yeah.
lot of mess. But
You're not in their contract, that's all.
yeah, but you're not under their jurisdiction, basically.
Yes, you don't have a license.
All right, Morris. Well, with that, don't forget every Tuesday
So hope they
we're online. Tuesday we're online. Yeah, the ones are the majority of them are down there. Next week Sunday we'll be here again.
Same time.
Same time, 1 p.m. So we'll just do our closeout.
A quick question.
Yeah,
With the unity meeting yesterday,
yeah.
is there a video for that?
Yeah. We recorded it. It should be up. It should be up sometime in the week or something.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a good little session. Hey, Kenta.
Hey, man.
5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of the universe,
Father of love.
Father of love,
Truth.
truth,
Peace.
peace,
Freedom.
freedom,
And justice.
and justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector,
My guide.
my guide,
And my salvation.
and my salvation.
By night.
By night
And by day.
and by day.
To his holy prophet.
To his holy prophet,
Noble Drew Ali.
noble John,
Islam.
Islam,
Islam.
Islam. Thank you.